Welcome back to the Pro Football Pod Friday edition, reviewing Thursday night matchup and a little preview on who you might be starting and sitting come week 3. You guys excited for this week's matchup?
Hell yeah. There's tons of good matchups.
Pretty pumped for this weekend. Hopefully it's an increase on what we've got the last couple weeks.
Yeah, we just keep that ball rolling.
So we're all in agreement. Lots and lots of touchdowns. That's going to make everybody happy.
Yeah. Have y'all felt enough? Like, have y'all on that Sunday, like last Sunday, do y'all feel like y'all got enough touchdowns? I felt like I was missing like 15 of them. Just
I know
they're not producing like they used to.
I know week 1 we were really low on touchdowns, especially like on Sunday during the Red Zone broadcast, compared to like the last couple of years. I think the 3 previous years it was the lowest in like the last 4.
Week 1 betting wise, I think almost all, if not all, of the unders on the game totals hit in every game.
See, yeah, you don't like to see that.
Because coming into last week, there was a lot of low totals on average, and it was still about teams just aren't scoring, which it's the first 4 weeks. Like the first 4 weeks now, especially with the shortened preseason and how much they don't really use the preseason, it's really getting a feel for everything. Like, so that's why I always take the first 4 weeks with a grain of salt. It's the time that you do want to sell high and trade these guys that are balling out in the first 4 weeks, because teams start keying in on that. They start trying to figure out ways to shut that down because, oh, look what they've done for 4 weeks straight. Well, we know that's their identity. Let's go ahead and take that away. Versus, whenever you're at week 8 and you're seeing the same production, okay, well, that's a little more consistency. You can go off of that a little more. Like Puka Nacua, as great as he is, we put him on the thumbnail for this week. I need to see it, for at least a few more handful of weeks before I fully buy in. Like, is it going to keep up with Cooper Kupp? Is it a matter of the offense just feeding their number 1 wide receiver 20 targets a game? Or is he legit?
I mean, it's historical how much he's getting, and whenever Cooper comes back, we know that it's not going to be the same. So that's really like what the question is. And Cooper, we don't know how long he's going to be out for, so this guy's got value while he does.
Puka and Cooper. Come on now.
It's going to be kind of disgusting with both of them.
Yeah. But it is interesting what Justin said, though. Like, I've thought about that. How, like, not many people have tape on this guy to see what he's really been doing. Like, I mean, now we know what he's going to be doing, but can he withstand injuries? Can he bounce back from an injury quick? Like, or is he going to get injured and then be done for a long time? And, it's not like people have spent a lot of fab on this guy, but
well, even guys like Sam Howell, like he's looked great the first couple weeks. I love what I've seen out of him. I was pretty high on him coming into the year, so it makes you feel good. But even with him, it's all right. Let's see, what you're looking at about week 9 or 10 once teams have some tape on you and they're able to figure out your tendencies. Like Brock Purdy, the Niners have looked solid. They've looked dominant. But he has been off with his accuracy lately.
really,
And it's just a matter of, all right, are they getting a little more pressure here? Are they, throwing receivers off the routes ever so slightly here because they know that's where he wants to go with it? Like, I'm just telling you.
Are you going based off week 2 or 3?
And then things start to change a little bit.
Are you going based off week 2 or 3?
Purdy?
Yeah.
I'm going off all 3 weeks.
Because he looked pretty on point
He
last night.
looks solid. He looks, and his numbers, if you just look at his numbers, he's fine. But watching the games, there's some passes that he's missing, and it's just like, I don't feel like he was really missing those last year. Now, I mean, it's one thing or another. Like I said, it's early in the year. He's still young. It's a few factors. But he missed one deep pass the other day. I think it was this last game, and it was reminiscent of what Jimmy got shit on for in the Super Bowl. Deep pass, guy wide open, just hit him in the basket, and he overshot him by about 3 yards.
I remember that one. There, he's showing promise. He's still a young guy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, he's young. He's definitely showing promise. Like,
also, On PFF, the 49ers are ranked 28th in pass blocking so far this season. You wouldn't expect that with the way that their offense has been out there on the field. Their run blocking is well ahead of that, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Purdy having the time to be able to do what he needs to do. He's the 28th worst in that
maybe
category.
because of how many screenplays they run?
That's
Could that
probably
skew
why
those-
they.
Well,
no, I
no,
would say that's
if
more
he's
so
going by
why they had those
PFF,
screenplays.
It's a matter of win-loss rate by just the linemen
They
individually
really watch
versus
that,
the
and they
like
watch
Exactly.
that holds up because Purdy, even versus the Giants, there was few times where he had defensive tackles in his face. Now, Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau are freaking awesome. But
Athletes.
still, and that offensive line for the 49ers has taken some hits outside of, the left tackle they've got there. The name is completely slipping on me, and I do not know why.
Trent
Teron Smith? No,
Trent
that's
Williams.
wrong. Yes, Trent Williams.
Trent Williams,
Thank you.
best
That
of
man
the
was
best.
having a night.
Exactly. I hate myself right now. But outside of him, it's just like, okay. And a lot of it, Shanahan's scheme makes up for.
Exactly. I think that the Giants should be scared at this point a little bit, but not too much based off of playing the 49ers. I'm more afraid of for everybody else in the NFC. Everyone that has playoff aspirations is definitely going to have to make it past Kyle Shanahan. The Cowboys look like the second best team,
Those
and they're right
defenses,
behind
bro.
them. Dude, those
And that's
defenses.
the Giants. Their 2 losses versus Dallas and the 49ers, probably the top 2 defenses in the league.
Exactly. That's where you can't be too hard on them. Now that Cardinals game, it
first
looked
4
bad,
weeks,
but they
bro, I'm
won
telling
it.
you.
They won it. So you make a good point. The first 4 weeks, there's no bye weeks. Every team's playing every week. There's a lot of things going on in the NFL that after the first 4 weeks, that's whenever stuff gets hard. That's whenever you're really going to need.
Think about it too. These rookies are still working in. Like Tajay Spears, for example. His first week, he got 4 touches. Last week, I believe he got closer up to 10 to 12 touches. And he's expected to get worked in more. So right now, yes, you're not seeing the value there or anything like that. Yes, they still have Derrick Henry, but they're easing him in as they go. So to where you get to week 7 or 8, the guy may be touching the ball 15 times a game in one way or another, and that makes him fantasy relevant.
So, before we get into the start sits and the matchups, a little quick segment, if you will. Me personally, I know that my biggest pet peeve in fantasy is people that just don't set their lineup. And it's Thursday night is the one that pisses me off the most because it's the one that happens the most. It's just like that one moment where all you had to do was open your phone one time after waivers to know that the player got hurt and to put somebody in. But
it comes up quick. It sure does. It comes up quick.
See, I'll play off of that from my pet peeve. My pet peeve are the people that make zero type of involvement in the league. You send them trade offers. You send them good trade offers. You send them offers to where they're clearly winning just to see if they'll respond, and they never respond to you. I hate, my biggest pet peeve is where you have leagues to where only 2 to 3 teams are trading with each other because nobody else does anything. And that plays off to, like you said, like people that enter the league because, oh, this will be fun. Oh, I don't like the team I drafted. Fuck this league. I'm in 20 other leagues anyways. Sorry for the F-bomb. I know we're trying to watch that.
the kids. Austin, what about you?
I think just having to deal with tight ends, just because there's only 3 top 10 tight ends in the league. And
Austin wants to just get rid of the whole tight end position.
100%, bro. I play tight end. The fuck
straight up
is not fantasy relevant.
Make a league to where you take out the tight end and you just replace it with an extra flex. That way, if you want a tight end, you can.
That's solid fantasy action to me. Like, but having a tight end in there is
salivating for that league right there.
Literally, give me the dynasty like that.
So there are quite a few good matchups this week. We're gonna start with a bad one. So Tennessee's going to Cleveland. this is going to be a defense fest. I'm super scared fantasy wise. Like, I'm definitely not starting Jerome Ford this week if I got him on waivers against the number one rushing defense against running backs. Like, it's just doesn't make any sense, especially they have Kareem Hunt, and maybe he doesn't play at all, but if he receives the ball at all and he takes away from Jerome Ford's receiving option, then he's not going to have any value. So I'm kind of scared of this matchup from like a fantasy perspective because the defenses, I don't want either one. Both of them could end up getting scores, or both of them could end up.
Yeah,
like,
the defenses would be honestly the number one things I would want.
Like,
Or
but
Derrick
I'm afraid to
Henry,
take Tennessee because of Cleveland, because Deshaun Watson could still have some magic and could make it a 40-point, 350-yard game, and then all of a sudden Tennessee
We haven't seen that in a Cleveland uniform from him yet.
Bro,
That's
so
true.
I'm not expecting
That
that against a Vrabel defense.
He's a bottom 5 quarterback. In the league right now.
39.5 is what the over-under is
I
on
love
this
you,
game.
Austin.
So they don't see many points being scored.
No.
There won't be. I can see a Derrick Henry touchdown coming out of this one. Finally.
Oh,
Another one.
I did actually see that as an anytime and thought about it. I decided with Kyler Williams instead. No. I'm sorry, Kyron.
Kyrie.
Thank you.
What?
Kyron Williams instead.
Wow.
Because
Instead of the King?
they're not going against the Cleveland Browns. Dude, the Browns are like, they're a rough defense, man. They
Their
are super
defense
high
is
up in
legit.
every
Their defense has
category.
been solid.
Their offense
And they
just
played
can't
some-
stay on the field.
This should
Exactly.
actually be a game that Deshaun should be able to let loose and air it out because the Titans don't have a secondary. Like Kevin Byard went down, they already had a weak secondary, and so like this
They've
is a
been
game where they
good
should. And Nick Chubb's
this
out.
point.
Like this has to be the moment where he has to break out and move forward.
You're
as the
totally right.
quarterback.
This is his team now. Like, there is no more. We're a running team that plays off defense. We
Yeah.
need to be able to stick up some points.
Those two
Now-
teams are the safest for that. Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry. Like that's the matchup we wanted to see too.
Second matchup we get to talk about is exactly the opposite in every single way. It's the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think that they're even going to address a defense. They're just going to go out there and put up 75 each. I'm
This-
pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
This is my favorite fantasy prop betting game on the slate. Both
Oof.
defenses versus the pass are terrible.
Both defenses in general
versus
have been
the run.
terrible.
Both defenses now Austin Eckler being out, like Josh Kelly's value, absolutely. Just if you had him as a handcuff or you picked him up on the waivers like you should have, absolutely throw him in there because he's going to be out there for you. But
Especially
I mean,
against Minnesota.
Joey Bosa is questionable with his leg injury, so that's just going to take away from their defense. And so, yeah, this game, absolute shootout. I have it listed here in my notes on like the people or like players I love for this week. I literally have it listed any quarterback or wide receiver in the Chargers Vikings game. Like any
Or
of them.
the running backs. Chargers are bottom 5 in coverage and run
Except-
defense.
I do not like Alexander Madison.
I
No.
like him to score
He
this
has
week.
not
I picked
ran
him
for
and JJ to
35
score.
yards
He
yet,
just
and
picked
they
up
just
Cam.
traded for Cam Akers.
Cam Akers isn't going to be able to get implemented into their system this week. Not in the passing game. So in the
It's the
passing
same
game,
system.
But Madison hasn't shown he's that
It's
guy
Kevin
yet.
O'Connell. Like Kevin
Yeah.
O'Connell came from the Rams. That's why he traded for Cam Akers. It's the
it's
same
going to
system.
be. I mean, I feel that. I don't think that this is the week that
I
Madison
don't see
loses
him
all of
getting
his value.
15 touches, but I do see
I-
him cutting into him a little bit. And like I said, I'm just Madison at this point. It's you're the feature back. Show it to us. It's the kind of the same thing with Deshaun. It's like
Yeah.
like if we're putting our faith in, we need to see it. Like let's go right now. Like so, that's my thing. I just don't like him this week. I know the Chargers are a good play for it.
Addison,
But I see
though.
this just passing going crazy this week.
I love Addison this week. I loved him last week.
Addison, yes.
I think he's gonna have a big week this week.
Flex
And
spot
weeks
for
to
sure.
come.
Wide
Wide
receiver
receiver
too.
too, if you need. If you need,
yeah,
there's
I'd play him
receivers
wide
not
receiver too,
performing.
like no doubt.
I have been, and he's solid for it. I mean, Waddle's been doing 14-14. Addison's done 16-16. Like in whatever format you're in. I know it's different, but this is probably my favorite bet is this over the 53.5.
53.
Like,
It's
I think they're
it's
easily
gonna be in the
gonna
first
smash
half.
that. Like
53.5, and hey, the Dolphins Chargers game finished what, 33 or 34, 32?
34, 32. Yep.
and this one's gonna be more. I think. Like
So that
I think
you
so.
guys at
The
least had a
Dolphins
decent
defense.
defense.
Exactly. And the Chargers weren't amped up yet. Now they don't have Eckler. I don't think that's going to matter. I think Joshua Kelly's a decent start this week as well,
Bro,
because of the receiving option being
we
open.
know these
The
quarterbacks.
Minnesota's bad against the rush, just like the Chargers are. Both of these teams have no defense. It's going to be offense all the way. There's going to be 4 punts in this whole game. You can quote me on it.
Who do you have winning it? Because the game's at 1:00, my friend.
Chargers.
1:00
that's-
in Minneapolis,
rough to
Minnesota.
That's rough to say, Colby. Who
I
plays
think
good
Chargers.
at 1?
Chargers got
See,
this
that's-
game
He's like
because
the
they
Dark
have the
Knight
better
at
defense.
1:00.
In a lot of everything we just said was the Chargers defense is so bad. On paper, they're supposed to be good. This could be one of the weeks where they turn it around. I'm a lot more excited about playing all the Chargers players than I am the Vikings, but I think that Addison, Jefferson, and Madison definitely have value.
Hawkinson.
So you want to know why I'm not high on Madison as well, and like this just confirms it for me. You want to know the pass to run ratio for the Vikings?
It's
20
probably
to
like
80.
70-30.
80-20.
80-20.
Called that
The
shit.
percent
boy.
of pass plays for Vikings are 79.5%
Oh, that's 70. You can't
versus
round up there.
20.5%.
Nah, that's
Like,
ain't
That's
so-
nuts. That's
now-
nuts.
The Vikings have had so far through 2 weeks the second toughest strength of schedule. So they've played tough teams. But like you said, like we're looking at the 20th overall and the 19th overall defense, the 13th overall and the 6th overall offenses. Now, I think if I'm picking a team, I like the Vikings at home in this one. A West Coast team having to come over to Central Time. And
Skull.
the Vikings, to me, have a more fluid offense. I just like the way the offense manages more than I like
Just
at
give
what I'm
me
seeing.
Kevin
Now,
O'Connell.
if Eckler was in this game, that would sway me. Because I
feel
just
that.
think Eckler out of the backfield in the passing
Same
game
with-
is just a different animal.
Same with Dalvin Cook being in the backfield.
But this
over
gives
there.
Josh Kelly the perfect opportunity to show, hey, I can do it in the pass game too. And I mean,
He had a rough matchup last week, guys. Like, he had one of the worst. So the fact that he looked bad has nothing to do with him as a player. The Dolphins matchup, he looked so good. And look what they just did to Ramondre Stevenson.
91 yards on 16 carries. and a
Remember
tutty.
that. So I think that the Chargers were undervaluing some of their offensive weapons, because all that the Vikings have, I mean, they've got Hawkinson, they've got an offense. I feel you, but I still think that the Chargers are going to have a little bit more firepower to get this one
The
done.
Chargers,
Both-
let me
because
preface
their
this.
defense. I think the
Chargers
defense will make the difference.
should win this game.
Yes.
This is the game to where right now I'm not panicking yet, but if the Chargers drop this one and fall to 0-3, Brandon Staley might get fired, especially after what they did in the playoffs this last year.
Yeah.
Like he might
I-
not come home from Minnesota.
It's crazy. Both these teams are 0-2. Like, neither of these teams.
The
should be.
Vikings make more
Neither
sense to
one
me
was
'cause like I
supposed to
said,
be,
their
though.
record last year to me
Mhm.
was a sham because
Yeah.
they played in so
We've
many
talked
close
about
games.
that.
But
All right, so next matchup, moving on. You guys, anything else to add? Sorry. Patriots, Jets, going to the Jets. I think that this is a good defensive matchup. I like playing the Patriots defense versus
36.5 on the over-under just
Yeah.
absolutely kills me right there. Like, that's Army-Navy shit right there.
For real, though.
Yeah, I think you
Legit.
have to hit the over, though, aren't the Patriots? I mean, I guess
No.
both of these defenses are good, and both of these offenses are putrid. Nobody's expecting anything from Mac Jones. They're expecting a lot less for Zach Wilson. I saw his over-under on yards at 180 earlier. So I don't even know which one to hammer, because like I'm terrified of it going the other way. I'm looking at New England Patriots defense. I think that's a good streamer. If you're streaming defenses, they're going to be going straight after Zach Wilson. They've been able to get the ball away some, but they could end up getting a score on this game. I think that's probably the most scores is going to be defensive.
Now, they did lose a top 3 corner this last week versus Miami, and Marcus Jones. He went out with and ended up with a torn pec, I believe. But again, it's Zach Wilson. Like, and I don't want to continuously just poop on Zach Wilson every week, but it's one of those to where it's like, dude, you got to start showing it here. Like, he had that one big play versus the Cowboys to Garrett Wilson, and you just want to be able to see him build on that, because I like his talent. Like, I like the way he tries to play the game. He's got some Aaron Rodgers. He's got some Brett Favre to him. Like, that's my style of play that I love. I love a gunslinger. Like, I love Josh Allen's type of play, but it does irritate the hell out of you when they're turning it over all the time or they're making inaccurate throws. So he's just got to work his way into the system more, and they've got to give Breece Hall the ball more.
100%. But he's
saw
got
what Raheem did versus this defense. Like, Breece Hall, for as much as I love Raheem, Breece is better.
With Raheem doing what he did, they still rank New England 8th in run defense, right behind the Jets. So, are you guys starting Breece this week?
Yes.
New England's.
I
So because
have Cook
of what
behind-
Raheem did
on my
last
team
week, you're
behind
going to start
Breece
Breece.
on all teams.
Or
so, like,
do you think that Salah is just they're going to have to feed the rock to the running backs,
Now,
so they're going to?
Let me preface, not as my RB1. Like,
no, RB2.
he would be my RB2. Or honestly, if I could help it, probably a flex.
If you can help it,
because
yes.
it's the way Belichick just dominates the Jets. Like, he just does not lose to the Jets. And
I'm
it's
terrified.
also,
I'll be vocal. I'm
we look at
terrified of the
Raheem,
running backs.
But we've seen the way
the
the
Jets
Dolphins'
this week.
offensive line has
100%.
played the first couple weeks as well, and the way they're
Exactly.
fitting into that scheme.
Compared
And I
to the way
don't
the
know
Jets.
if the Jets' offensive line has meshed like that yet, and it doesn't look like through the first 2 weeks they have. Now, the Bills and the Cowboys' defenses are legit, but the Patriots' defense is nothing to snuff at either. Like, it's not like the Dolphins put up 40 points on them. It's just the Dolphins have a more efficient offense that the Patriots just weren't able to counter on. And Tua just doesn't lose to Bill Belichick. So,
And
So
the
the
spread on
Jets-
that game was 2.5, and I hammered the fuck out of that, and that was a solid bet.
yeah.
Now it's 2.5 against the Jets. They lost Aaron Rodgers. We know what they look like. Like that was against Tua. That was minus 2.5, and now we're going against Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
like,
they're
bro,
minus
fucking give me
$2.5
$100
road.
on that game.
Yeah. And
I-
we've
on
seen
the
the,
road, but,
Patriots go
like-
there versus Zach Wilson, play all the way till the end, look like they're going to overtime, and they return a punt for a touchdown. Walk off. They're out of there. Like, that's my thing is, if I'm picking a team in that game, I'm going to pick the Patriots because it's just Bill
I
Belichick
hate-
versus the Jets.
What
But I
scares me
don't
is
like this game fantasy at all. You're starting
Oh, no.
Garrett Wilson because you have to, where you
have
drafted
to,
him.
where you drafted him.
Same thing with Breece, but that's it.
Breece-
I'm
unless
not
you can
playing
help
anybody
it.
else.
Unless you can help
Hunter
it.
Henry. No, I'm sorry. I will play
That's a-
Hunter
that's a
Henry.
nice
because
streamer.
And Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre was a 3rd round, 4th round pick. He's
you
the
kinda
only
have
running
to.
back on the team. You have to start him.
You have
But
to.
I
what did
think
you just
that
say?
I like
Ramondre
Hunter
Stevenson.
Henry a lot.
He's
You
the
have to
only
start him.
running back on the team.
he's the dude. He's the only
Correct
fantasy
yourself.
relevant one.
Correct
Zeke's
yourself.
there.
Zeke's been out
stop
there,
touching
bro.
the ball. Whenever they were losing
best
the
looking
game,
player
Zeke
in the
just
NFL
stop
still.
touching it. You're
You
such
see
a
that shield,
fan.
dude? You see that
Such a
fucking
fan.
shield?
Such a
No.
fanboy. No, but Hunter Henry, watch him in this game. Like, where, Austin, you hate tight ends and all, because of DJ
No, I
Hall
like that.
or DJ Reed, I'm sorry, and Sauce Gardner. Their corners are legit. Jordan Whitehead back there, he showed you he was legit. 3
Whitehead,
interceptions.
represent.
Week 1. But my thing too is with Sauce and DJ on the outside, Hunter is his favorite target anyways. So for me, let's go ahead, get Hunter those targets, and I look for him. He's a good bet for an anytime touchdown as well.
Hell
All right.
yeah, I like that as well.
We have a lot of matchups to get through. So let's try to pick up just a bit on the pace. Sorry. Houston at Jacksonville. I don't think there's a lot to say. Houston's defense has been very bad this year. So Jacksonville, we're starting across the board. I really, really, really like ETN this week. Even though he's more of a receiving back, their rushing has been super bad. I'm also keeping an eye on Bigsby. Just watching him against a bad defense and seeing if he can just slash them. If he can, then he's going to show a lot of promise for like potentially picking up later, especially if ETN goes down.
It's scary how Damian Pierce has been doing, but hopefully he can have a bounce back week this week against the Jags. Jags still have a pretty good D line and defense.
I don't know if it's gonna happen, but
with CJ Stroud opening up the field a little bit more and more, like the way he is getting comfortable with Nico Collins and these type of receivers, Tank Dell, it's nice to see these other weapons so that Damian Pierce can eat a little bit.
Stroud
for
is
me,
someone
I
I like
look
for
at-
streamer.
For me, I look at betting purposes. I look at this line of Jacksonville -8.
It's kind of high.
I'm taking the Texans +8 on that
I'm
line.
about to say that's
Yeah.
pretty high.
Like the Jacksonville hasn't showed me anything to this point that they're going to be able to blow a team out.
And Houston looks like they got that
Like,
dog in that fight in
they
them.
beat the Colts by 10 in a rookie quarterback's first start. Like, so yeah, you won the game you were supposed to win, but it's not like they looked overly impressive to
And
me
that
outside
wasn't
of
a-
Calvin Ridley.
That wasn't a real 10 points they won by. That was fluky if you actually watched the game.
Yeah, because Richardson got that right at the end.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to say about Jacksonville is that if I have Calvin Ridley, that first week I was really excited. I'm not scared after the second week, but with how many weapons they have there with Evan Ingram and Kirk, and it's looking now like if Ridley isn't it, I
Dude,
want to see by the end of week
did you
4
watch
if
it?
he looks like he's in 100% back to form, then I'm gonna hold on to him. But if he can have 2 more big weeks and it looks like it's an offense thing, I might look to trade him week 5 or week 6. Like it's too early to pull the trigger, but it's just something in my mind after last week. Like it's something. Evan Ingram.
You watched
like,
it last week?
It was yeah.
Wasn't it last week that he was doing he couldn't get it in bounds? He had 2 in the
They
back
were
of the end
close,
zone.
two
Still had
very
8
close.
targets.
So that's what I'm talking about. Like
That's what I'm saying. We're not terrified,
but what
but
you're
it's-
saying is like
Well, I'm keeping an eye.
starting
This
him.
is something. There's just a lot of mouths to feed there, and Trevor Lawrence didn't look like he was unable to be stopped. So I'm just keeping an eye on things.
Calvin's
and that's
looking like
something
a
I'm
top
looking at.
5 receiver out there so far, running
He
routes and
is,
catching
like,
the ball.
it's-
he had 2
it's just
bad
there's so
beats in
many
the back
people
of the
there.
end zone where he should have had 2 touchdowns, and you would not be talking about him like this. You'd be saying he's the top 3 receiver this week. Like, it's just
That's
how the
way
cookie crumbles.
In a
You know
lot of
what I'm
ways,
saying?
in a lot of ways, this could all shift in 20. In 48 hours, we could be
Inches,
saying
game of inches.
if he has one more bad game, trade for him. Like it could be that. It depends a lot.
That's
on,
what I'm trying to say.
I want
to
to
you,
see
bro.
the
He didn't
targets
have a
keep
bad
up.
game at all.
He didn't, and not really. It's more
And he
the
had a great game
Jacksonville that
week
I'm
1.
scared of. I'm scared more of Jacksonville. I didn't think I was going to see Trevor Lawrence have a game like that this season. I didn't think it was going to be possible. I know it was the Chiefs, and they had Chris Jones back, but the Chiefs is generally everybody's offense goes up type of game.
No,
let's all put up 30.
I told you, watch out for that defense, bro. That defense brought him to the championship, the Super Bowl.
Now, speaking of defenses, the Bills' defense last week looked freaking ridiculous. Commanders are going to have a tough go.
Milano.
I'm terrified of Jahan Dotson. I'm so scared, to play him. I want to see more from him. I got him on a couple teams. Terry McLaurin, if you were able to get a hold of him, you have to play him. But I still want to wait and see for Jahan.
Yeah, Milano really does control that defense, though. He's like a Micah Parsons back there doing that shit. Who's the quarterback?
Washington right now
Sam
has
Howell.
the 7th overall ranked defense, but they've played the Cardinals and the Broncos.
That's tough. And
Yeah.
they won both those games, right? They're 2-0.
Yes, they are 2-0. And right now the spread is Washington at home +6.5.
Yeah,
And if I'm being honest, I think I'm still leaning Buffalo on that because
the Bills 6.
I think they might be riding the high and they're not ready for a team like Buffalo right now.
Nah, Broncos and Arizona, like if you're facing the Broncos from last year, I mean, I know they got a new coach, but like if that's the team anything like from last year, like this team hasn't faced a team yet. Jahan Dotson, definitely, I think he's still startable, because of how
I
much
don't know
volume
about
they're
this week.
gonna
I'm
get for
benching him
garbage
this week.
time. Really? How much points did he put up
He's
last week?
fallen into that category of
5.
I've got to bench you till I see it go up.
How much did he put up
Yep.
week 1? He didn't
Not
put a
enough.
15. He in the beginning of the game, he was getting targeted like crazy, but it just wasn't
They're not
going
targeting
anywhere.
him deep enough this year compared to last year. That's
And
his
in the
big
end
issue.
zone enough either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Terry's finally been getting them.
Week 1, he had 7 targets, 5 receptions, 40 yards, no touchdowns.
Yeah, 9's not bad, but it's not 10, and it's not enough. Not a wide receiver 2 flex. Like, it's not enough. Tight
And
end,
then
9's perfect. Like, I'm so happy with 9, but any other position, that's not enough.
Last week in the shootout with Denver, so many yards, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 22 yards, 0 touchdowns.
Now, another player to talk about from that game, Brian Robinson. Do you guys feel like he's fool's gold? Are you trying to sell him high right now?
I have him on my sit list this week.
That's one of the
I'm
hardest
not
running
playing
backs,
him
bro.
if I can help it.
Wait, whoa. Speak on that. Can I ask you, elaborate that, please? For the people.
The Bills held Josh Jacobs to negative yardage.
Many men.
And just the matchup with the Bills dictates that the Commanders are going to be behind most of the game, which signifies they're going to be passing a lot more. And when it comes to their passing game, I mean, Brian Robinson got 3 targets last week, and Antonio Gibson also got 3 targets. So that's my thing is I don't see the value in his rushing, and we haven't seen the value in his receiving yet. So for me, that's why if I can help it, I'm not playing him.
It's hard because they played the Cardinals, and I think the strength of the Cardinals, if they have any strength, would be their defense a little bit. And then like Broncos, we know they have a solid defense. So like, and he ran through those like it was Swiss cheese, my friend. Like he looks smooth. I've been preaching on this guy since the
like
offseason.
I said, they were also that game turned into not necessarily it was a shootout where they're matching punch for punch. Whereas this Bills game, I'm not shocked if you get through the first quarter and they're down 13-0. Like, yeah, I mean, what do you think, Colby? Do you have like any sleepers? Are you playing them this week?
No, I'm terrified. It's 2 very good defenses with 2, like the Bills' offense. If you've got Diggs and you got Allen, obviously, and James Cook is very quickly showing me that he's going to be an every week start. But against Washington, Ron Rivera coach teams keep the games tight and close. That's just what they do. Or they get, I mean, they could get totally blown out. I don't see that happening. I'm really, really scared of the Washington Commanders players until I see more. Sam Howell, we were talking about on the Monday episode, he's got more yards and touchdowns than any other quarterback in the NFC East. But that doesn't equate to him being able to put up into the guys that we need. We need Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson to get yards and touchdowns, not just anybody on the field. So I'm afraid that might not happen. I mean, they got Poyer. They've got a good secondary that they've been together for years. Their defense looked bad the first week, and they did not look bad last week. So I think that we're starting to see the Bills, get a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. I'm not touching them at all. I think
the Commanders' defensive line is legit. So, if anything is the key matchup in that, it's that. Because that'll be what keeps them in that game is if they can get pressure on Josh Allen and force him to make those stupid mistakes.
Bro, he's looked retarded jumping up in the air like so many times this season already. It's been baffling.
2023, Austin. You can't say that anymore.
Yeah, I know. I just rolled with it. But he looks retarded. Come on now.
You can't say it a second time. The first time was a mistake. The second time was intent. So Indianapolis at Baltimore Ravens. No, you're not. Indianapolis, they're given 8.5. They do not like these rookie quarterbacks. They're just gonna, give them all a bunch of points, I guess. I think that the 8.5 is worth it. Now we do know that Gardner Minshew is. I'm sorry, so no rookie quarterback. Gardner
Garbage
Minshew is
Minshew?
starting. He's starting 100%.
Garbage
We're not
Minshew.
getting anything Richardson this week because of
That's
that.
sad. This is the matchup that we wanted to see him in too. Is like
Zach
Lamar
Moss.
against Richardson.
Zach Moss is the guy. He's gonna start. He's gonna play 100% of snaps, just like he did last week.
He had a great week last week, but I don't know, man. That front seven for the Ravens is legit. And this could be another one of those kind of like the same thing I was saying with Brian Robinson is, does it force Minshew to have to throw the ball 45 times because they're down 17-0 before they can blink?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what terrified. Like I picked up Zach Moss on almost every league I could and played him in most leagues, reaped the rewards and benefits, but I don't know if I'm playing him this week. I'm terrified.
Yeah, I see it. I mean, they're top 3 in run defense so far this season.
I don't know if I'm playing any Colts players. Like, even if I have Michael Pittman, I'm trying to, maybe even look to trade him out.
Yeah, 100%.
I wouldn't have drafted Michael Pittman. I mean, you got a non-throwing quarterback
Whoa,
drafted
watch
to
your
your
mouth.
team. Like,
Watch your
he's a running back.
No,
he
that's,
just wants to get
see,
paid.
Your evaluation
He
on
just
him
wants
is
to
wrong.
get paid
Your evaluation on him is
$25 million
wrong. No,
a
you're
year,
wrong. You're
so
wrong.
he plays
You're wrong.
quarterback. But
Wrong.
he is a running
Wrong.
back. At
You obviously
6'4".
don't watch film.
And
He
can
has
just
the
throw
biggest
it
arm in the
75
NFL.
yards off of
Thank
Austin,
you.
I'm sorry.
Thank
We're just
you.
talking. We're just talking. I'm just making a joke because that's what everyone keeps saying is that all these running backs should just go be quarterbacks. And I did a little bit of research after I saw that in a group chat, and every single top 10 running back is 5'10". Not 5'9", not 5'11". They're all 5'10". So they don't have a choice but to be running back. They're running back because they're 5'10".
Bro, I played
Sorry.
quarterback.
Sorry
and
about
then,
it.
And then I legit just ended up realized
You're running back.
This isn't going to work unless I'm at minimum 6'2" or I have 4.3 speed. I'm not either of those. So had to make a switch real quick.
So Ravens players, though, the Colts coverage is absolute garbage so far
Zay
this
Flowers
season.
season.
Zay Flowers season. Odell's out.
Mark Andrews
Zay Flowers
season.
is in. Mark Andrews every
Mark
start.
Andrews,
He's in every start.
anytime touchdown is a great
Like
bet
it.
for this game.
Like it. But yeah, Zay Flowers and Addison are my two. I think those are going to be the two rookies that are going to pop this week for the receiver position. Both of them I like. And if you're trying to get one of them, trade for them now before this week happens. After this
It's
week,
too late.
I'm starting to look
It's already
Jackson
too
Smith
late.
and Jigba. It's not too much,
I
though.
agree. I think it's already too late.
Like,
Because anybody
these guys
that
have
Zay
has-
solidified
Flowers,
themselves
if you try to get them
in
you're
week
not
2.
giving
That's
them up for
crazy.
cheap.
Yeah.
I
We
wouldn't.
usually
should've
had to wait
just
for like
drafted
week
them.
5 or 6
Yep.
for rookie receivers to actually pop, and these guys are doing it, bro.
Yep.
Showing that they could be almost top 15 receivers in the league.
So Atlanta at Detroit.
That's a great.
Are you
matchup.
guys afraid of Amon Ra with the turf toe? He's going to be playing. He had a full practice today. He's going to be having a metal like plate in his shoe under the toe to help stabilize
Basically
it.
like
So,
a steel toe.
I mean, you're talking
yeah.
about like he could go out there for one play, it doesn't feel right, and then he's out. So like you're taking a gamble. If you got the depth on your bench, I would say start someone else. But if you don't, then you have to start him.
Where you drafted him, because I have him. So I'm just
I have him in
playing
3
him.
leagues.
I have to play him.
Mhm.
Like for where I drafted him, I have to play him. If he's playing in the game, I have to play him.
Have to. I agree
And
with
it's
you
one
100%.
of those situations where I just hope they just go ahead and say, "Yeah, we're holding him out. Not worth it this week."
But so
That
this
way,
is
I don't
this
have to
is
worry about it.
this is a perfect
But I
example right here.
love
You have
Josh
Amon Ra.
Reynolds this week because of that.
Yeah, that's a good target.
And also, you got to look at AJ Terrell is going to be on Amon Ra. Now, not all the time because Amon does work out of the slot a good bit, but because of that, I love Josh Reynolds this week as a flex play. And I have him in a couple leagues, and I'm absolutely putting him in my flex because of that matchup. So I love him. Amon Ra, like I said, it's one of those you just pray for the best because you got to play him.
So that's where I don't think you'd have to play him because in a lot of leagues where I have Amon Ra, I also have Jordan Addison, and I also have George Pickens. So like, those
Well,
are
if
two.
you have that benefit, but you take away Pickens
Austin,
one
you can't
catch
say
last week.
based off of your leagues what people are going to be able to
this
start.
is I'm able to.
If-
I got those guys in every single
Well,
league.
I get that, but you take away Pickens one catch for 75 yards last week, and it is a very minuscule fantasy.
and I'm
outcome.
terrified of that.
But
he doesn't
I'm all
get
right
enough
with him
targets.
going forward because of the injury
But
with
now,
Deontay
like,
Johnson.
but what I understand what you are saying. If you have the benefit of having good depth at wide receiver,
Yeah.
then yes, okay. But some drafts, depending on the way you're drafting, and like I did, I got him on Raw because I got greedy and went wide receiver early with both of my early picks. And so I didn't have the opportunity to keep drafting elite wide receivers. I had to go running back and start filling out my roster a little more. So, yes, I do agree with it's how you built your roster. But so if most people, if you where you drafted him on Raw, you're starting him. He was an early second round pick. Like he's one of your money winning guys in your draft. Your top 4 picks, if they're healthy, you got to play him.
It's I completely hear you, Austin. If it was a different player, if it was T. Higgins, I'd be terrified. But because of it being this high character guy in Amon Ra, he had a full practice on Friday. Full practices means he's good to go. They didn't limit him. They didn't limit his reps. They said, we want you to get full work in because you're fucking going.
Now,
Are you
Waddle
ready,
was
Amon?
limited.
Because you're going.
Waddle was limited, so he probably won't play. But we'll get into that later when we touch on that game.
Exactly.
But that's just like the example there. Like, so, no, I understand what you're saying. If I had the opportunity to be able to sit him this week, I probably would. But I don't have that luxury with the teams I have him on.
New Orleans Saints going to the Packers. They're giving the giving the Saints 1.5.
Wow.
I think that's only because of it being a home game. And I don't know about that. I mean, the Saints defense looks
Their
so
D has been
legit.
solid.
So
They're getting
legit.
Christian Watson back, but without Aaron Jones being there, like that kind of scares me. I think the Saints really, their offense really hasn't come through and like popped off. It's kind of like how the Cowboys situation, they haven't really needed to yet, but
Yep.
like I don't know. That's the Saints could be a scary team and we don't even know it, you know.
I
They
think
haven't
next
really
week they
needed to.
turn scary whenever they get their best weapon. I think he's still their best weapon.
Oh,
Chris Olave is
100%,
awesome,
100%.
but like they get scary next week.
That was one of
They
my
both
things
have
for
really good defenses, and for however the stat sheets have looked, their offenses have been somewhat mediocre just versus the teams that they've played. So I'm with you there. For me, I mean, as far AJ Dillon, if Aaron Jones is out, like, bro, you got to, we need it.
Mm.
Like,
I'm
It's-
scared to
it's his
start him
time.
though, from a
But that's
fantasy
where
perspective, because
if
he's playing
Aaron
the
Jones
Saints.
is
What
out,
did he do
then
last
it's
week?
more of, okay,
Decent.
Decent,
I think
not
they
great.
just lean on the pass a little more, and then it's just a matter of Jordan Love. What can you do versus that pass rush?
Which I mean, have you seen the one pass that he was making where the pressure was in his face and he like kind of threw it sidearm?
Oh, he's got the whole arm angle thing and
Yeah,
like you
like
know what
he-
you're wanting and stuff, and he's
he's-
looked good.
Really been
He-
impressive. He's impressed quite a bit. So that's what makes
it's not
me
like he's
respect that spread of that game.
not making a Hall of Fame push, but he looks better than a Brock Purdy, right? Where he's just making the
Yes.
plays necessary. He's making the plays.
He's
that
also
he has
making
to
it with
make
his
at the
legs.
time. Like, yeah, I've liked this play a lot. We talked about him on the Monday episode as an easy stream pickup.
I'm
This
actually
week is
starting
not
him over
that
because
week.
Richardson's out. Well,
feel
in my
I feel that-
super flex.
I feel okay. That's different. But yeah, I'm definitely not going for him this week. If I don't
Yeah,
have
it's
to.
tough with the Saints.
Yeah. Now
How do you feel about Tony Jones Jr.?
I didn't
doubt.
pick up Kendre Miller or Tony Jones at all this season because of Kamara being healthy and coming back
But
from
I'm
suspension.
talking about like streaming for
I
this
know
week if you needed a
for this
running
week,
back.
I've seen a lot of people saying that that's the move. I think that that's one of those full gold moves. He could end up getting 5 points, dude. I'm a little bit scared because Kendre Miller's there as well, and they're gonna want to see what they have from both of these guys. I think either one of them could end up being the pop. And betting on which one it happens for is just so 50-50. There's so many better matchups out there that we can try to rely on than Tony Jones. A lot of people have been saying that's the pickup this week.
For me, like, this is a week if you're able to. I put Taysom Hill in as my tight end.
He touched the ball like 9 times for 75 yards last week on carries.
Nine
So,
carries
like, that's
for
the other thing,
75
dude.
yards, 1-for-1 passing for 8 yards, but I mean that's not
He's
getting you
probably like
anything.
10% owned too.
And then two
Less than
targets,
9%. I looked it up.
1 reception
So-
on a screen pass. But I mean, yeah, this is a week I'd look for Taysom Hill to get some work.
Yeah. The rest of the matchups are Michael Thomas. I don't think has really showed us that like he has some sort of connection with Carr where he's like an every week start, and Green Bay's not enough of a matchup where I'm going to throw someone like him in.
9 targets for 7 receptions last week for 55 yards. So Slant God is coming back here. Like
We're looking at him, but it's not an every week. And this matchup against Green Bay, I think, is going to be a rough one.
Jair
I think
Alexander.
Yeah. Olave is going to have more work because he's going to get one chunk play that's going to make him all worth it. That's what his game is. Like, that's just, you don't worry about him because you know he's only going to get one.
You talking about Olave?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of scary where you drafted him, where he's been putting up lately.
I mean, I haven't had a problem with his
Rashid
production.
Shaheed has looked very, as far as a streaming option, if you're just, you're digging deep
you
for wide
need it.
receiver already this early, he's looked solid the last couple weeks, but he is a very boomer bust product. He had 63 yards last week, but 45 of them came on 1 catch.
So he's their guy if they needed one deep. I mean, you heard Derek,
he's the wild
Derek Carr
card.
say it to him like, "Yo, I need you to just fucking run this route."
Yeah, he's
Just
the wild
go.
card. Like they're keying in on Thomas and Olave, and look who's 50 yards downfield wide open.
Yep.
Denver has to go to the hottest place on the planet Earth and play football at 1:00 on Sunday.
1:00.
Horses
That's
don't
gonna
get
be
hot, baby.
rough. This exact week last year was the Bills game that it was like 140 degrees on the away sideline at halftime. So it's going to be a hot one. I don't think that the Denver Broncos are a team that anybody expects anything from this week, and I think that that's hilarious because the Dolphins defense has looked good on paper, but they've also given up a bunch of stuff this year. That first game, they still gave up 32
200
points.
yards on the ground.
243, bro. It was bad. So I don't think that like Javonte Williams and all these players. Now, we talked about it on Monday. I'm scared to start Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton because Russ has 2 other targets that he's been throwing to too often. Marvin Mims and Johnson are just. It terrifies me, especially where you took either of those receivers. So I'm really not starting any Denver Broncos until I see that their offense has these are the targets, and I'll just pick up those guys and start them.
So what? So not even Javonte. I mean,
Javonte, I feel like because of where you took him, you don't have to start him. Playing against the Dolphins,
Now with all the
Ramondre
running
Stevenson
back
was the only
injuries,
threat.
You're probably forced to. I'm forced.
You
to
might
start
have to.
Javonte.
Yeah,
I have him in the league. I have to start him, but I have, and it's no bias, but on my love list this week, I have Tua because yes, they have Patrick Surtain, but Frank Clark and Justin Simmons are both out of this game. Justin Simmons being out is a huge hit to their
that's
defense.
their safety. That's the over the
That's
top.
the captain of their defense. Like he is the man. He's a top.
That's how they
3
stop
safety in
Tyreek
the
from
league.
happening.
Not to mention they allowed Jimmy G and Sam Howell to go for 275, 250 plus on them. They're 28th in pass DVOA right now. Like, so for me, that just screams Tua is going to eat. Like, even if Waddle is projected to be out of this game, which I think he's going to, I think Craycraft and Barrios are both good streaming options if you're having to dig deep into the bag. If you play DFS, I like both of those guys because they're not going to cost you anything, but they have great value for the potential boom that they can give you. Barrios, if you're doing a PPR DFS, I just want to throw that one in there for you. But Craycraft, he's a good bet for anytime touchdown this week because
Absolutely.
of the value he's going to bring.
Now, Waddle's not out to play yet. It was a concussion, and he isn't fully, like, you have him in the league, right, Justin?
He didn't practice all week, and he was limited in today's practice. So I don't think he's going to play.
If he plays, you start him. It's that simple. If he doesn't play, Barrios or Craycraft. But if he plays, you have to start him. It's like we talked about with Garrett Wilson and Amon-Ra and all these other guys that are questionable in the second round. They have too much potential to not play him.
So I have a really big question for y'all. I have this league where I have for my running backs it's Brees. It's the Jets backfield. Brees and Cook.
Yep.
And then you got Javonte Williams available.
Available.
Yeah. So.
As in, like, on the waiver wire?
Yeah, like I could pick him up right now. Also,
if you
Tyler
dropped
Algier,
Dalvin Cook, I would drop Dalvin Cook.
I would drop right now.
For Javonte over to Tyler Algier. Javonte's the starter. Yeah. Drop Dalvin Dalvin has no value, man. He's an old running back. He's over 28 years old. So he's only getting worse and worse. And he just left his system to go and try to win a championship with Aaron Rodgers. And Rodgers isn't there. Value
Brees is
for
the
Dalvin.
better running back. And they've shown they don't even like giving him the ball. So, I would
this
absolutely
week,
drop.
Brees is going to touch it 15 times. Dalvin will
I'm
touch
shocked
it 10.
Javonte Williams is on your waiver wire.
It's a weird league where I have Anthony Richardson out, so I was hoping to put him in my IR, and I can't. Like the guy has to actually be on IR to be in the IR slot. So
I get you.
That's dumb.
It is, and so when you're with the depth and when you have the super flex, you're stacking a quarterback in there. So like it's always just rough on the bench.
Yeah. Now
I'll
Dolphins
definitely
being
do that, but if y'all
minus
fuck me,
6.5.
just know it was recorded.
Yep, I got you. Dolphins being minus 6.5. I love that bet. Now, I don't ever bet on the Dolphins to win because if they lose, I don't also want to lose money behind it as well. So I just leave them out of all of my bets. But I love that. Like, as a betting person, Dolphins getting a touchdown at home, like you said, 1 o'clock on the road in the heat. Dolphins are going to be wearing the white jerseys. So the Broncos, they're probably not wearing the navy blue. They're going to be out there in the orange. But, I mean, that sideline, bro, it's no joke. With the Buffalo Bills fans have still complained about it over a year later.
I think
they still complain about the heat in Miami.
I think a perfect team meshed together could maybe have a chance to take y'all down, but this team is not put together in that way. Like, this is one of the most straggly teams we've seen in the NFL.
Well, but think about this, because everybody loves storylines. Vic Fangio, they fired him. He's getting redemption versus them. Butch Berry, our offensive line coach, they fired him. Our offensive line's been looking great. You don't think they're fired up? Bradley Chubb, they traded him away because they just simply didn't want to pay him.
For almost nothing. We didn't even have to give a first. I think it was a third or fourth round pick. Like, what?
No, we gave him a first. And
was it?
Yeah, that's where our first
we got to get rid of Chase Edmonds though. So win, duh.
But that's my thing is there's so many connections here with guys on the Dolphins who were spurned by the Broncos, and they're just coming in to just apps. And you can't tell me they haven't been preaching that all week, either on the side or even in the coach's room. Like, hey, we've got some dogs in here that we need to like help get back on. And for me, I expect a bloodbath. The Dolphins should win this game 42-13. And that
which is over the over, by the way.
And I'm not being biased. I just think it should be a bloodbath.
Yeah. I'm definitely hammering that over. You could put that in for me right now for $50. You know, I'm good for that.
So Carolina is traveling to Seattle. They're giving Carolina 5.5, and Bryce Young is most likely not playing. He's nursing an ankle injury. and I saw that they're likely not going to start him. I get it. His offensive line isn't good enough for him to be able to hobble around back there and get stuff done. So I wouldn't want him to get hurt long term. I'd rather let him get healthy and then have him start the next week.
Did y'all see him line up over his guard?
Yes.
He was like
They had to
looking.
bump
He
him
was like
over.
mesmerized. He was just like,
Yeah, they had to bump him over.
and like,
Oh,
who's his running back?
Bryce.
Okay, so
dude from the
Andy
Eagles?
Dalton will be starting for the Panthers then?
I
You know
mean,
what?
they haven't announced everything, but that's what it looks like.
If that's what ends up happening, and if Andy Dalton has been able to get the first team reps all week, man, this is one of those games betting wise that just terrifies you with the Seahawks minus 5.5 at home.
yeah,
Because if
Yeah.
they're having to play the backup, you expect that to be different. But Andy's a solid vet in this league, and he's played
Yep.
many years. And this would be one of those games where he can come in and just be able to do just enough
to keep himself
pull
in
out
the
that
league.
victory on the road. Because I mean, when an East Coast team like them is going over to the West Coast playing in Seattle at a 4:05 kickoff time, as far as their body clock goes, there's nothing different with that kickoff. It's just going to get darker sooner.
The only team worse at coverage than the Seattle Seahawks are the Rams. The only team. So, Mingo, this looks like his week to show what he's capable of. And Hayden Hurst is one of my absolute stream targets at tight end. Like, it's going to be an eat fest. I think that the over on this game is also way too low. 42 just seems a little bit
I
low
think it's
because the
gonna be
Seahawks,
because of the Carolina side.
because of their defense, and I get that, but the Seattle Seahawks still have a very solid offense, and we haven't seen Jackson Smith really take off. I wonder if there's going to be a little bit more space opened up for him this week. I'm not saying that
DK's
I'm
out,
starting
right?
him, anything like that. DK's out?
He got pulled
Is he?
out last
I don't have.
game.
I don't
He
have
ended
him
up coming back into the game.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yeah. It looked like
And
it was
Lockett's-
a serious
So
injury.
yeah, he went out with a rib injury, but he
yeah,
came back.
it looked bad. But
Yeah.
So-
I definitely like Seattle though minus 5.5. If I had to lean away, like if I had to put my money on a team, I'm definitely fine with Seattle. They've looked solid on offense, like they did last year. You know, they just
They've
added new
looked a little bit
weapons.
inconsistent as a team. They were able
Kenneth
to pull
Walker
off the
looks
win last
great.
week.
Kenneth Walker
I mean,
looks great. Like
and
that's what
Kenneth
you
Walker-
like to see.
Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet are two players I'm really trying to keep an eye on this year because I think that Walker goes down. I think if Charbonnet is
Don't
available
ever say that.
in a league that you have to pick him up, he went down last year, and
He's
like
not
the
available.
running backs, he shouldn't be, but he's going to get dropped this week after he doesn't get put up more than like 5 or 6 points again, and he doesn't get more than 3 or 4 targets again. So I think that that's when you pick him up. I like him as a stash play. Jerome Ford was my other stash play, and that worked out way sooner than I thought. So yeah, Kenneth Walker. I'm playing Kenneth this week if I have him. Obviously, Seattle Seahawks receivers. You guys are starting, right? Lockett and DK can't
Yep.
not. All right, Bears at the Chiefs. Are we starting anybody on the Bears?
Nope.
I mean, Justin Fields.
No.
Nope.
Well,
not
with
even starting
Anthony
Fields.
Richardson out, I have to. So screw off.
Yeah. Sorry.
What
I'm
about
not even-
C.J.
I'm
Stroud,
looking to the
Matt
waiver
Stafford,
wire.
or
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield? Are
No.
any of them available in your league?
Yeah, but do you think we got depth like that? I mean,
Bro, drop another player and don't put up 3.5 points this week. Like, I'm telling you, don't do it.
you think Fields is putting
Fields is-
3.5 points?
It's
Maybe
not
4.5.
3.5, man, but unless he has one of his, they do like just let him cook and just
I
let him
think
go
it's
back
about
to what he was
time.
doing towards the end of the year last
Look
year.
what happened to Trevor last week, dude.
But man,
Trevor.
I don't. He terrifies me until
Fields
they get
looked
that
better
offense fixed.
last
But
week, though. He was
he
opening
did
up
come
to
out and
DJ
say,
Moore.
they're in my ear a little too much. They're too much direction. I'm not able to play freely and just get a feel for it. So
Damn, that's
maybe
crazy he
him
said that.
saying that helps them, kind of tug back.
Be able to
you
coach
know,
him properly.
let
I
the leash
feel
get
that.
a little longer there.
It's
so,
obvious. It's so
You wanna
obvious. Look
see
at what
that,
he was
but-
doing last year with
Yeah,
no
if I
weapons,
can
and
help
now
it-
he's got more
If
weapons.
I can help it, there's not one Bears player I'm playing. Not one.
That spread's pretty fucking high. I don't know about that
12
spread
and a
though.
half.
That defense has been atrocious. I will say
12
that
and a half
defense has
point
been
spread
atrocious.
with an over-under of 48.
Kelsey anytime
that's-
touchdown should
They're
be
projecting
minus
Kansas City
250.
to win that game 34 to like 12. Like it's absolute. That's a projected blowout. Like, and I mean, yes, it's projections and stuff, but for me, it's one of those things to where I don't even know how much I like the Chiefs passing players, because how much are they going to actually have to pass the ball?
I know it's
Kelsey,
Isaiah
he gives
Pacheco
you
looks
value,
good,
but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'm playing anybody else. Like, I'm not really excited to start Tony or Sky Moore.
I know it's only week 3, but this seems so far like the easiest betting week on like spreads to like hammer. Like
It's a great week for teasers.
Oh hell yeah, yeah.
It's a great week for teasers.
But even just like single bets going on these teams, like I do believe like each of these teams could cover these spreads easily that we mentioned.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
there's
I
been
mean,
a couple that we've
12
been
and a half
like,
on this one, and then our
mentioned.
next game that
another
Colby's about
12
to
and a
get
half.
to, another 12
Dallas
and a half,
goes
'cause
to
you got-
Arizona.
and now
and
that
that
one's
is-
feasible. That one I
Yeah.
actually understand.
You're
That
such
Cowboys-
a homer, dude. I
no,
love you.
No, and
I
my
mean-
thing is though, like
I'm
for
wearing
what
a
I've seen the
jersey.
first 2 weeks, I love what I'm seeing out of the Cowboys defense, specifically Micah Parsons. Like, he's getting to where he's becoming like one of my favorite non-Dolphins players, because he's just so odd. Like, he's out there faking basketball crossovers before the snap so he can like try to get a bead on where he's going to go. Like, he's literally toying with these offensive linemen.
I only watch him when I watch that defense. It's just
Now, I am interested to see how much Trevon Diggs going out affects that defense, but
Not at
that's not
all.
going to show up this week because
yeah.
they're going to demolish.
Josh Dobbs isn't. Yeah.
James Conner,
he
do
looked
not
solid
play him.
last week.
Do not play James Conner this week.
Josh Dobbs looked real solid last week. You know, he looked good. You
Josh,
wanna
the
stream it?
only value
stream?
he's going to give you is garbage time
Yeah.
because they're down by
Don't-
so much, and he's going to have to throw.
He
every
will not
play.
finish this game. I promise you. That.
I've heard
he
people
will not,
talking
he will not
about-
finish this game.
Playing
Bountygate?
Ertz. Like, dude, I've heard people saying
Ertz
is
has
such
no.
a big.
He's been he's been
terrified
crushing
of
it
that, dude.
for tight
He
ends,
gets so
bro.
many targets. I get that, but dude, we're
There's
talking
no tight
about
ends out there right
the
now.
number one defense, and this is legitimately the best linebacking group.
Now,
Like,
fantasy aspect, though, we do have to look at it from, like I said, garbage time. Like, these wide receivers, Ertz, like, you're looking at a
I don't know,
lot
3
of
and out
garbage
after
time
3 and
stuff
out.
from them. That, too. Like, if they can't stay on the field and sustain drives, garbage time doesn't matter.
yeah,
This is
I'm
a rough
terrified
week
of
for him,
Arizona.
but Ertz
They're trying
has
to lose
been
this game
crushing.
anyways. Like, they're
Yep.
just trying to lose it. Like, they don't care. So
Yeah.
I think that you have to hit the 12 and a half for Dallas because of that alone. Like, they don't even want the game to be close.
Really smart investment.
Now, Sunday night, we get Pittsburgh at the Raiders. What a poop game.
I don't like that game. I don't like it at all. I honestly, you're
It's
playing.
'cause
You're
the
starting
hype on the
Devontae
Steelers.
Adams because you have to. I'm gonna play Pickens because you just kind of have to in your flex at that point.
He
but
can get it.
I-
He can get it
I don't like
anytime
Najee.
touchdown. You know?
I do not like Najee
Well,
this
now,
week.
let me say this. So, in run defense, the Raiders are 4th last. So they have looked really, really bad in defending the run. I don't like Najee. I don't love Najee.
I like
do
Jalen Warren.
love Jalen Warren. I'm starting Najee if I have him because I think that you have to against the 4th worst. This is the best week that he's ever going to have if they're going to continue to split evenly. Jalen Warren only has 1 less touch than Najee Harris for the season. That scares me if I'm a Najee Harris owner. Like, that's why I wasn't drafting him in the 5th round, 4th round, whenever he was going, because I thought that Jalen Warren in the 8th or in the 10th was going to be able to have equal value, and that's what's happening. I still
Now-
think that you have to start him this week, though. Like,
I
it's
do
just-
like Jacoby Myers as a streaming play with
Okay.
Minka being out this week because of how he looked in week 1. Now, I know it was Denver and we've seen what Denver, but all the focus is going to be on Devontae Adams. And
Absolutely.
so I do like Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers anytime touchdown is a solid bet in that game. But overall, like you said it from this is a poop game. Like this is, I'm not excited to watch this game unless you're a fan of one of these two teams. Like this is one of those Monday night games. If it wasn't so early in the
Sunday night.
season,
Sunday
they would
night.
probably try to flex it out.
Yeah, it because of what happened to the Steelers, there was a lot of hype on them and a little
And
bit
the
of hype on
Raiders.
the Vegas because
I
of
mean,
Devontae. They got
Pittsburgh-
Josh Jacobs still, a new coach. And
Pittsburgh defense anytime touchdown is a great bet to put a little sprinkle.
you know I
on,
love
little
that.
lunch money on that.
You know I love that.
Like
'Cause who's giving that touchdown
TJ
up?
Watt, somebody getting something. Like yeah. So I mean, not much there. So
I
Sunday
bet
night
he doesn't
game,
even finish the game.
Sunday
What?
night game, poop.
You
Monday
just
night
reminded
game
me TJ Watt's there, bro.
might be a little better.
Steelers take that game. Mark my words.
2 Monday night games for us.
Steelers take that
Two.
game.
So the early game is Philly at Tampa Bay, which before the season started looked like Philly was going to just, slap it on the table, and it doesn't look like that anymore. Tampa Bay looks like a solid team. Their defense, we already knew what they were going to be from last year and the year before and the year before. But Baker's made their offense with 2,000-yard receivers, all pros at the position. I kind of have to stop hating on Mike Evans until he starts being bad again because he's not
They've
bad.
also played the Vikings and the Bears. So we do have to take that into
I'm
effect. They
trying
haven't
to
played a defense
understand
close to the
this.
Eagles yet.
But
Yeah,
the Eagles' defense has also given up a
spread is-
lot of points so far this
2-0,
year.
2-0 versus the spread.
I get
like
that. I'm not saying betting wise, like to go ahead and pick the Bucks. I'm saying that from a fantasy perspective, I'm not terrified of
you're playing
Rashad
Mike
White,
Evans.
and I'm playing Mike Evans, and I'm playing Godwin this week. Like I've been playing both of them, and he's definitely a
Now,
wide receiver
Rashad
too.
White does scare me a little versus that front seven.
Boy. He gonna
But
eat.
he gets way too many touches for you to not play him.
He's
because
number
his
one running back in the
opportunity
league, bro.
value is
With
so
the
high.
way running backs have been working this year, like if you got an RB1, you gotta he's
Yeah,
your dude.
I mean you're
Like,
probably forced to start him. At
he's
this
a
point.
solid
You're right.
flex player.
You're,
like
you right.
respect.
You right.
This
Now,
this is a
Philly
this is a tr-
players.
This could be a
AJ
trash
Brown, I
game.
love this week. After the
Love him.
turmoil going on the sidelines last week, and,
He's getting more targets than
Oh, you
Devonta
love
Smith.
AJ
Devonta just
Brown?
did something with
Yeah.
him.
and
Oh, I love Devontae.
well, there we sat
He's
there,
gonna
we were
just keep
watching it.
eating.
We were watching it at Buffalo Wild Wings, all of us, and he
Mhm.
2 straight plays they went to him, and it would have been touchdowns, but one got called back because of a penalty, and there was another one there was a DPI on. So I mean, they tried. Like they did what they had to for him, but I mean, yeah. So I love him this week as a bounce back week for him, quote unquote bounce back week, because it's not like he just had a complete off week last week on Thursday. But
He just didn't do as good as Devonta, and that's what everyone's comparing him to. That's what it really is. He's supposed to be the number one, and Devonta Smith's supposed to be not that. And AJ Brown's the alpha. That's why I'm going to take him. He's not the route running guy. He's just so big and strong, and it's hard to touch at the point of the ball. I think that this game could be a little bit closer than the score showing, though. 4.5. Like, I think this game could be decided by a field goal if the Bucks show up to play like they have the last 2 weeks.
Because their defense
I
has
don't
still
know.
been stout.
I'm taking that spread on Philly. Like
They're-
I'm not even
so-
hesitating.
What holds Philly back is when you got a good run defense, and the Bucks definitely have that. They do lack in their secondary major, and so the
They
Eagles
still
could
have
seriously
pieces
take advantage of that. But
in their secondary.
yeah,
Antoine Winfield Jr.,
That's
Carlton
the-
Davis, like yeah.
it's a little bit, but like I don't know. I would definitely,
Now-
if I had to put money on it, I would put money on an Eagles spread. Like I
Similar
can't trust the Bucks there.
to how we
especially with what
started
they
this, the next matchup is exactly the opposite. We've got the Rams versus the Bengals, and this is going to be an offensive showdown.
Super Bowl.
Is Burrow playing? Does anybody know? I don't have him in a single league, so
They
his
He
injury
was-
is irrelevant.
He
to me.
was throwing at practice today. Now, if the Bengals are smart, they don't. Like if I'm the Bengals, the worst thing they want out of this calf injury is for it to lead to an Achilles injury, because that's typically what will happen if it's not treated right.
That's what
for
happened
me-
to Rodgers.
They have a bye week on week 7. I'm
Okay.
sitting Burrow until after that bye week. That's just me. If I'm running the team, obviously I'm not. I'm sitting down here
Who's
in my
their
freaking
backup?
garage doing a podcast.
Who's their
So,
backup quarterback? Who plays if Burrow doesn't? And is it a nobody?
great
Like
question. That is a great question.
They
Hold on
were
while we do
willing to
this
ride
live
with
for
them.
you here.
So, talking about the matchup, Rams
I
players
feel like I know this answer.
I mean,
against the Bengals, like the Bengals defense has not looked solid because their offense has not looked solid, but it's not like they're the
Jake
very
Browning.
Jake Browning.
Jake Browning,
bottom
Jake
from
quarterback
Browning?
out of Washington. I believe he played for the Colts
Oh.
at one point.
Jake Browning? Dude, are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. That's what
Are
I'm
you being
talking about.
sarcastic, or do you actually know
Jake
who that is?
fucking Browning, dude. That dude's a dog. He's actually a tiger.
I don't like this game.
So,
Like,
this used to be the Super
probably
Bowl.
gonna
What are you
continue
talking
to get
about?
what he gets.
that you
Matt
bring me to my
Stafford?
point. I think Matt Stafford is a streaming option this week because of this matchup, and I think that he's going to get a touchdown. Don't worry, guys. You heard it here first. I know he only has one on the year, but he's going to get some touchdowns this week.
You think two? You think it's a good bet to put
Oh,
him in for
Be a
oh,
good
you
little
know.
sprinkle for you.
two?
a little sprinkle.
Rainbow
So yeah,
sprinkle action?
I think that he's a nice little streamer. Another one that we missed out on, I mentioned it earlier, Dalton Schultz. He's playing with a rookie. We've been hammering the rookies tight end combinations this year. They've got a good matchup this week as well. So I think that we look, Houston passing, Dalton Schultz, smart.
Dalton
So-
Schultz.
We did it.
We did it.
We did it, guys.
You mean
We got
Tyler
through all of
Higbee?
them. Good job,
Yeah.
team.
So, I think that. Do you guys have anything else to add?
I mean,
I think that
drink tea.
TulsiRoseTea.com.
Drink
Yeah.
tea.
TulsiRoseTea.com. That's right, baby.
TulsiRoseTea.com.
All right, well. I
Subscribe,
sat Burrow
like.
this week and played Burrow. Good. What do you guys think? Sat Burrow and played Purdy. I think that we're all
That's
pretty much
solid.
in agreement
Think
that
you're
was
I
good.
think you're
Yeah.
That was a good move.
Purdy put up like 24 too. Like he was a solid
Yeah,
start.
I think you're good. Burrow hasn't shown anything to this point, and if he's still nursing that injury, like, I think you're good. I'd have probably played Purdy regardless, even if Burrow was healthy.
That was a pretty
Yeah,
good start.
Pretty good choice.
Well, let's end it on that banger
Like,
of a joke.
subscribe, hit the noties.
Hit the bell so you guys know when we're live.